Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. This is episode 263. We are recording this live on YouTube on May 21st of 2025, just a few days after Digital to Dice Con 2025. So I guess this will be the official wrap-up show, if you will. Joining me today is Mike Canestrari. Mike, fantastic job this weekend with everything you did, and thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.
And also with me is St. Patrick. He had his game at the event, the matchup football. And I want to say welcome to the recap show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, in case you missed it, Digital to Dice Con 25 was held this past weekend in Connecticut, right across the street from the Foxwoods Casino. And it's something we've been planning since last August, I think, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that was Jeff's event, and we had a fun time at that. And we said, we need to do something on the East Coast because you got Play.con out there in Colorado. You got ST's event out there in the we call that the Midwest, kind of, sort of.
Yes, it is absolutely the Midwest.
All right, we'll call that the Midwest. And then, you got APA down there in Georgia, if you will. And so you got a few major events going on. Now there's all these tournaments that happen in the whole bit. But there was really nothing up in the Northeast that I could find anyway. And so the idea was, could we put together an event up in the Northeast? So, and I know when we announced the venue, people, why not have it here? Why not have it there? Here's the deal. It's the Digital to Dice Con, okay? I'm in the Northeast. I have to be able to drive to the place and see it and overlook everything and talk to the people there to see if it's going to work. I can't host one in Texas or Oregon or Hawaii, as much as I like to go to Hawaii. So it needs to be near me. So this whole time it was destined for the Northeast, okay? So I tried to make that clear as to people were, well, why are you having it there? Well, it's got to be in the Northeast because that's where I'm located. And we tried to find a place that had some kind of amenities, that there was something to do instead of just, being out, wherever. And I felt right across the street from a casino, I thought that was a pretty good place. They had a perfect size room for us. They treated us very well there. They did have a restaurant right in the facility. Mystic, Connecticut was down the street. In fact, I know a handful of people went down and visited Mystic. So, I mean, as far as, it went, I thought it pretty much did everything we needed to do out here in the Northeast. And so that's why we had it there. We're going to run through kind of the chronological order of things here because it kind of unofficially started on Thursday with you guys in there. Before we get to that, I do want to give our show information. Our website is digitaltodice.com. The text line is 978-751-DICE. That's how you can send us a text. The email, digitaltodice@yahoo.com. And over on Facebook, our growing Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. So getting back to things, I don't know where to begin, actually. I don't know where to begin. So let's just start at the beginning, all righty? Thursday night. I was not there Thursday night, so you guys were there on Thursday. Tell me what happened on Thursday.
Well, I think ST was probably there in the morning. He was probably the first person there. But, yeah, we got together Thursday night. It was ST, myself, Clay Dreslock, Jerome from Mississippi, and James Hart from Florida. And we just sat out in the lobby and just talked games. Clay was showing two new baseball games that he was developing. Very interesting. And then, ST was giving him some insight of maybe you could do this, change this a little bit. Uh, so it was really fun. And believe it or not, I had to go to work the next day. And lo and behold, I'm leaving the hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning. And luckily, I have a 5-minute drive to the house. So I was back at the house at maybe 10 after 2. And then, of course, I was keyed up, couldn't fall asleep because I just had 5 hours or 6 hours of talk, and so needless to say, I didn't get much sleep on on Friday, Thursday, Friday, and Friday morning, and ended up going to work and then heading out to the back to the hotel at around I think noon time on Friday.
I got there probably around noon on Friday after making what was a beautiful drive across New York State. I guess not realizing that it was a mountain range
Hmm.
across New York State because we think of Manhattan so much, but it was gorgeous the entire way. And uh, got to the hotel. Um, yeah, and I saw the early birds. I think Mike, James Hart, Clay Dresslock, and I are notoriously early to all these events,
Yeah.
and will be notoriously early in Colorado as well. I think we're all arriving conference week in Colorado on Monday,
Yes.
uh, because we just like to be there and be involved in the gaming and be around each other and talk and stay up late and do all those kinds of things. So I think we're all arriving Monday, but we all arrived early here as well. And the late night activities have begun. If you've never been to these conferences before, I think the most fun thing that happens outside of the conference are the late night talks about game design and game mechanics and this game and that game. And we definitely had one of those on Thursday night. And you would think at my age that would have tired me out, but Clay Dresslock and I stayed up till 3 a.m. on Friday night and talked about a basketball game that I'm working on and a basketball game that he's working on, just exchanging ideas, sort of knowing how each other designs games and how we think as well. Um, and I think both of our games improved that night as well. And we probably talked about basketball mechanics and we're scribbling things down the whole time and showing each other things probably for about 4 hours that night. I think I got back to the hotel that I stayed at about 3:30, went to bed at 4, got up at 6 a.m. for the Saturday show, and that was pretty much the story of the weekend. Thursday and Friday were incredible. We also had a small room off to the side of the main lobby that was perfect, but the lobby was also fine. It was great. It's a beautiful hotel right across the street from Foxwoods Casino. Um, really, really a good time. I think I ate at Wahlburgers twice, and there's not one around here, so you can imagine. So that was fun. But the stuff that the conferences are always fantastic, out of this world. But the stories that you kind of tell forever are the stuff that happens outside of the actual conference hours. And it was, again, perfect.
Yeah. It just like Vinny's saying, right? He had the 2 nights at dinner, gave the 7, 8 guys incredible insight to each other's lives, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Absolutely.
kind of how the whole thing went.
Yeah.
As we move into Friday, that's when I got there. I actually had to get up at 5 and work, and I ran my morning hockey league and refereed a hockey game. And the whole time, like the week before the event, I was like so nervous that something was going to happen, and I'm reffing this hockey game, at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm like, if I like take a puck off the foot and I'm in the hospital and I can't go there, and I'm like, I was seriously, that's going through my mind, and I'm just like, I can't think like that. I can't just like wrap myself in bubble wrap all week. I got to live my life. And so I got done and I come home and I couldn't sleep. I was too pumped up. And so I packed up. It took me, a good half hour to pack up everything I had. I had so much stuff. And I'm driving down and I forgot to eat breakfast. And so it's what time was it? And I got a late start too. So it was probably afternoon, maybe 12:30. And I gave Mike a call. And he's like, yeah, there's a bunch of us here and we're going to go out and get some lunch. And I was like, well, either bring me back something because the hotel doesn't have lunch. So either bring me back something or wait for me. He says, I'll be there in like 45 minutes. So he said, oh, we'll wait for you. And so I finished driving and I got there and I pulled up front and there's got to be a dozen guys there already, in the room you're talking about playing games. And I was like, can you guys kind of give me a hand? I says, I have a truckload of stuff to bring in. And so everyone out to my truck, and I went to the guy at the front desk, Sean, I think his name was. Sean was awesome, by the way. And I said, Sean, can you get me a room? I asked for a room on the first floor. Can you get me a room so I can put all this stuff? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So I go out to my truck, and everyone comes out and grabs a bag or wheelie or whatever it was and brought everything in. By the time I parked the truck and went back in, Sean's like, oh, all your stuff's in your room. My room was like right off the lobby. Like, there's the lobby and the front desk and the conference room. And my wall touched the conference room. So I was 5 seconds on the lawn. I was like, perfect. And I got this monster room. Holy cow, this thing was a big room. And luckily it was because we put all the water and all the snacks and all my stuff in there and it fit everything, which was nice. And I wasn't climbing all over it. And so I get out and we went out to lunch and it was Steve Tower and Mike. And we ran into this guy I never met, Ryan. And we didn't have the badges at the time. And I says, you here for Digital Dice? He's like, yeah. He says, I'm Ryan. Nice to meet you. He says, want to go to lunch? He's like, yeah. So the four of us went to lunch. Again, I had never met Steve Tower and Ryan. I didn't know at all. And we went over to Wahlburgers as well. And we just had a nice lunch. It's just a good time. And then we got back and we went in the room. And I think it was we just started playing games. And then as we're in there, more and more people are showing up. And then Ray shows up. This guy shows up I didn't know with pretzels. And I'm like, well, I don't know who you are, but you're invited to the conference. Anybody shows up with pretzels, you're invited. Come on in, And it turns out it was Ray who designed all the lanyards and stuff like that. In fact, I got mine right. I mean, these things were just gorgeous. I mean,
nice guy too. A really nice guy.
Ray was fantastic.
Other than being a Flyers fan, he was a nice guy. No, he did a nice job on the sign.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Beyond.
The one thing I just, there was so many things to do, and I'm trying to do it from afar. And Ray says, I'll do the lanyards for you. It's like, well, anything you could do would be great because I just don't know if I'm going to get to it. And Mike was busy with the food and the drinks and all this other stuff. And I'm going through my mind all the things I need to pack as far as the audio visual stuff and the cameras and I want to make sure I had all that, plus all the games. And again, I was full, and my week was full of stuff to do. And so when he did that, I was like, oh, man, I just hope he brings them because, again, I'm relying on somebody I don't know to do something that's very important. And so we got talking to him, and I said, oh, Ray, I said, are you the Ray doing the badges? And he goes, yeah. I said, oh, good. Do you have them? And yeah, so that was a huge relief that, that he came through. Not that I didn't think he would, but again, I'd never met him in the whole bit. And so you're relying on a stranger to come through at a very important event. So he had them, so I was pretty relaxed about that. And then more people just come in, and I had all these non-sports games. And I just put them on the table. We started playing. The racing game, I guess, is a sports game. But that was this old game from 1960 or 1961, and just a simple die roll. And everyone's playing that. And we had such a good time with that. And then I pulled out, what game was it I pulled out next? The Bandito game, where you're trying to trap the criminal with the cards on the table. That was kind of fun. And then I pulled out the... Blank Slate, it was called. Blank Slate's like a match game where everybody gets a little dry erase board, and you give one word, and then everybody has to put what they think the word is and try to match other people. That we played that for hours Friday night, and just more and more people joined up, and everybody that watched it wanted to play. And so Blank Slate was it. In fact, I'm bringing it to New Hampshire this weekend to play with some friends. They're like, you got any games? Oh, I got a game we're going to bring, Yeah, and Vinny, the chopped beef, yeah, he was like chopsticks. We called him Vinny Chopsticks because one of the word was chopped, and he put sticks. Chopped sticks. But that's how much fun it was. And like Mike said, that broke the ice. It really did, because everybody's sitting there in the racing game, everyone's cheering everybody on, and we're playing the Blank Slate, and we're trying to match with other people, and you're sitting with people that I just met for the first time, and what are we doing? We're having a good time. a good time is what it was. And we went up until about midnight, and then I said, I think I'm kind of hungry, because we ate lunch at 1, and I remember going up to the bar area, and I got a BLT, and I was sitting with Mike in the truck. I think Ryan was sitting there too, and again, I get my nights mixed up, but I was sitting there at the bar. But I remember I hit the wall because I'd been up since 5, and it was like 12:31. I hit the wall. I says, I'm going to bed right now. And the lady was having credit card problems, and I couldn't find her. And so I said, Mike in the truck, I said, Mike, can you tell her? I says, I'm here all weekend. I says, I'm going to bed. I'll catch up with her tomorrow. I said, I don't want to walk out on her, but I says, I can't wait. I says, I need to go to sleep right now. And I did. And so that was Friday. It was like, just getting there at 1 o'clock, grabbing lunch, getting back to the hotel about 3, and then gaming from 3 to midnight, 3 to 11, 3 to midnight, and just breaking the ice and just meeting people, and everyone was having a good time, and some other people were in the lobby doing their thing, and some other people went out to dinner, and it was just people just having a good time is what it was, and then slowly but surely you saw people coming in, and setting up their things, or talking to people. It just, Friday night was almost as fun as Saturday. It really was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You forgot to mention the bomb diffusing game, which I thought was really fun.
Oh yeah, Fuse, the bomb diffusing game. We pulled that out. We played a lot of that Saturday night too. That was a fun
game.
The thing is, as I brought co-op games, they really weren't competitive games. You know what I mean? It's stuff you play together. I find those to be the funnest instead of going head to head or whatever. The racing game was head to head, but it was fun cheering everybody on. And when somebody rolled a 1, we all groaned. And when someone rolled a 6, I was like, oh boy, But the bomb game was fun too. Yeah, we just had some fun games in the whole bit. So that was Friday. You guys have any more thoughts about Friday?
No, pretty much. I agree with what you say. It broke the ice. That was definitely an icebreaker, and got people who didn't know each other to get to know each other even before the convention the next day.
I just kept thinking there were so many guys I met this weekend who I had emailed with at least 10 times. So I knew them, but I didn't know them. And boy, Vinny Mancini especially was
great guy.
Super. It was so great to meet Vinny and Jerome Wyson and Joe Costa. And I mean, I shouldn't have even stated any names because it was really great meeting everyone, and everybody's so nice. I think all the new people who had never gone to an event like this before were probably a little surprised that it was as easy as it was to sort of just mingle and start playing. We've all gone to at least one conference before, and you are surprised that there's really no hierarchy, that everyone's just sort of able to join in wherever you want to join in, and it's not hard to be involved, and it's not hard to meet people, and it's not hard to do what you want to do. And it's playing new games, it's showing new games. And before I forget, I want to thank Joe Costa for showing me Glory Days boxing, which I had, but I'd never really gotten into yet. But to see him explain it to me was fantastic, and he did a great job of that. And it was so much fun. I mean, I could probably sit here for the next hour and say it was just so much fun. But it really was. And I don't want to overstate it, but if anyone out there is really thinking about, they might be kind of shy, they might be a little nervous, everyone might know each other already, how will they interact? It's not a concern to have, because everyone will make sure that you're a part of things.
Yeah. What was really fun too is when I was pulling out those games Friday night, a lot of times I'll bring these to family gatherings or whatever, and you pull them out and it's like, I don't want to play, and you get one guy to play, and it's like, no one else wants to play. Here it's like, anybody want to play? Everyone's like, yeah, Yeah, I want to play. Count me in. Give me a race car. Give me a slate. I want to play this game.
Right.
And then, and so you got all these strangers just laughing and joking and just having a good time with it. And that was the thing for me. I really did enjoy that. And Friday night was almost as fun as Saturday was. It really was.
Absolutely.
So let's move into Saturday. All right. So we'll move into Saturday. And so I get up all tired because I hit the wall Friday night because I'd been up 20 hours, but I did finally crash. I actually got some pretty good sleep, and I got breakfast, and I get up, and I was waiting for 8 o'clock so we could go in and set up. And the Sean at the front desk, it was like 7:30. He goes, "You guys can go in now." They were really good about it. It's like, it wasn't like, "Oh, you got to wait till," like, "You guys going to start setting up?" So I looked, there's already people setting up. So I was right in the middle of breakfast, and I grabbed Michael because he was going. I said, "Michael," I said, "just make sure I get the back table because that's where I want to set up the camera and stuff." So aside from that, people can set up wherever they want. And so I grab breakfast and I go in, I start setting up. And the first thing I see is the badges on the table. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Ray came through in such a huge way. As soon as I saw those, I felt really good about it. I really did. And then I saw, Mike break out the swag bags. And, and this is what the swag bags look like. I mean, come on. I mean, and then I might do
a swag bag.
I might do an unboxing before we end up the night here. But yeah, so you got the lanyards here. You got the swag bags out. Ray had created this huge D2D Con 25 sign out front that had all the logos of all the vendors that were going to be there. And that just looked so professional. And then everybody had a sign on their table, so you could go and sit. In fact, I got mine right here, right behind me. So, that was my sign. So that was on my table. So people, if they didn't know me, they know who I was and what I was doing, but everybody had that on their table. And so right away, the setup was like, wow, this is pretty good. And, honestly, I was kind of nervous about the whole thing because this was D2D Con. This had my name on it. You know what I mean? This was, the show's convention. And it was important to have the first one go off well. And if it was a dud or something went wrong or something was bad, it was a reflection on me. Now it's like, oh, you don't want to go to D2D Con. What a joke that was, So, my reputation was on the line for this. As I was kind of nervous too. But everything just started to unfold Saturday pretty well. I think everybody got set up. I was disappointed that so many vendors couldn't make it. One never got back to me. One tried. JT Hetrick, who was I wanted him to show up because he talks baseball like no other. I mean, if you're a baseball fan, you just sit and talk with him. He's got stories because of all the research he's done for his books, and he's got the game, the '80s baseball game. And he said he got stuck with the airlines and the weather, so he couldn't get in. So he sent me a message. I don't know if it was on late Friday or Saturday morning or something like that. I didn't even get messages. That's how busy I was. But I did see his come up, and I was like, oh damn it, he couldn't get here. And then the two wrestling guys couldn't make it either. I was kind of bummed about that. And Grant had told me a couple weeks earlier that he couldn't make it. I was really looking forward to sit down with him and having him walk me through his hockey game. I really was. So despite missing all that, we still had a full room full of vendors. And it was, everybody set up, everybody did their thing. And like, as soon as I saw things start happening, like my worry started to go away. Like you said, it was kind of running itself, is that, people were setting up, I was setting up, things were kind of happening. And then once we thought we were ready to go, we opened the doors, everybody come in. And at first it didn't look like a lot of people. And I was like, well, geez, I thought we had a lot more people coming here. But as I was kind of, giving my talk in the beginning and introducing people, I was like, there's not a lot of people here. And after we get done the introductions and the whole bit, and we started the game, I turned around, I put the mic down, and I don't know where everybody came from, but all of a sudden it was like, boom, all these games were on the table, and every chair was filled with people playing. It's like, I don't know where they were. Maybe they were still getting breakfast or something, but all of a sudden the room was like full of gamers, and games were just flying everywhere. It was pretty incredible. And I just saw people just having a good time, and I sat up in the back, and I was planning on getting people for interviews, and I kind of just sat back and watched it. It's like, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to interrupt anybody. They're having a good time. That's what they're here for, is to have a good time. It's like, do your thing, And so that's why I didn't get any interviews really, maybe one on Saturday, because everybody was just head down playing games, learning games. They're at the vendors table. I never even got over to see half the games because they were packed. Every time I walked by, there was people in front of them. I wanted to sit down with Ian and check out his on-deck baseball because I haven't played that in a while, and I wanted to see the new high-average baseball game from Steve. I was hoping I could sit down with ST and play some matchup. I didn't even get the yard table. I just didn't.
Oh.
And but it wasn't like you were sitting there by yourself either, waiting for people to come by.
No, definitely not.
So as one of the vendors, do you feel that you were busy there?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're at a conference like this with your own game, you're always sort of torn between I want to show my own game, but I also want to go see that game and that game and that game. So you're kind of torn between those two things, and I feel like I got enough of both. Jerome Wyson was able to sit down as well and show my game, which was mind blowing to see. Because he knows it so well now, and James Hart knows it so well that he also showed it off. So I could sort of kind of go around the room while they showed my game as well. And that is such a cool feeling, too. But I was really happy that there was enough interest in matchup to feel like I was showing it the whole weekend. And it was really cool also to be able to show you Joe Bryan's bank shot basketball as well. And that was a lot of fun. And so we were able to pull out James Hart and I were able to pull out some bank shot basketball and run through that for a bit. So
That was a last minute thing actually on Sunday because James was playing it and you were packing up, and I was like, bag shot. I was supposed to see this, and you were like, I gotta go, and I'm like, no, I need 5 minutes, and so we sat down and we were playing this, and then Dave Little, who's a big basketball guy, come over and he started doing it, and I was like, and I actually bought it this week. I did. I picked it up yesterday.
Oh,
bought a
okay,
couple seasons.
great. Yeah.
That's how much I enjoyed it.
Oh,
When I sat,
it's a detailed game that you'll find to be very easy to play. It's possible to be both, and I think a really good sports game is both. But behind the curtain, it's really complex. It's really stat driven. It's really everything has gone into it. But in front of the actual curtain, it seems easy to play. Um, and I think that describes big shot and payoff pitch very well. And so I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I know Joe will like hearing that as well.
what was fun about it, and this is why getting to these events and anywhere are important. Is I've watched a lot of videos on it and it was okay, but when I sat down with you and James, and we would flip the card, and I was like, what's going on here? Here's where you're looking. Okay. I didn't even look at the instructions. I just was playing the game, and he was saying what's going on, and then so we'd flip a card and we'd get the result. And I say, okay, I'm going to flip a few more cards to look at the next few results to see what they're going to be. So this would be this would be that, and you guys were explaining, and after 5 or 10 minutes, I got a pretty good idea on the flow of the game, and I was like, ooh, I'm kind of liking this, and there's a few little quirks in there, I'll probably need the rules for. But I was like, man, I am liking this. I really am. And so he was having some sales on some seasons. So I was like, oh, I got to pull the trigger on printed seasons, So I bought the printed version, if you will. And the only thing I didn't know about was the fouling situation. I don't know. Like I say, I just don't know enough about basketball for that. The good thing about this game is you don't need to know like matchups or positions. It's because if you it tells you what to look at. And I believe that if F1 has the ball and you go against the defender, it's just F1 on the other team. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it will also tell you in the instruction booklet where like you should have your point guard and where you should have your power forward.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it explains that very, very well, actually, in the rule book. Like the forward with the most rebounds is going to be in spot number 4. So you basically do it like that. And it'll explain that, though. You'll really like the rule set. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, but sitting with someone and
Oh yeah.
explaining it to you, and I did that. I sat down with a highlight maker hoops. I think it was Peter sat down with me, and we played a full game, and he showed me exactly how to play it. And you just don't get that from videos. And we try. I do a lot of videos and a whole bit. And we try to show that, but just when you sit with somebody, there's nothing like that one-on-one interaction with someone showing you a game. And I tried to do that with shootout. I showed some people shootout. I played some Stone Cold, and I played some Hockey Bones, and I went real slow, and I was showing people how to play that, and I was kind of hoping I helped them out a little bit. They all did say that I helped them play the game a little bit, but yeah. So it's just the idea that I could sit with people and learn games, and that's what I wanted. And I still didn't get to everyone, even that the room wasn't that big. I got to. I want to say I got to 4 or 5 of the games I wanted to see. I sat down Friday night in that room with Ryan, who we went out to lunch with. Ryan's an awesome dude, by the way.
Yep. Yep.
And he showed me Apasaka. So at least I got to see Apasaka being played and had an idea if I was going to like it or not. The regrets, again, didn't get to see Ian with On Deck or Steve with High Leverage. I didn't get to sit in with Clay too much, but he was pretty busy all weekend himself, So, and I didn't get to I was supposed to sit down with James Cast and go over a Soccer Blast. He had Soccer Blast out from play. I was like, oh, I want to
Yep.
see this. And by the time I get done and get over there, he was headed out the door. So I'm kind of hoping maybe Colorado I'll see that. But I
Yeah.
did I did get to some games on Saturday, but it was I think we had a nice mix. We had a nice mix of convention veterans that have been to at least one event or two events, and then we had a lot of people who this was their first convention. And so it was nice to see like their eyes light up like mine did in August, like, oh, this is unbelievable. And we had vendors, that were showing off their games and selling their games. And then we had, some people you might recognize from YouTube. The Dave Littles and the Steve Towers and Keith from Play. And so I think it was a nice mix of new and old and some people you might know, and then some games that maybe you've never seen or maybe have seen, but you can talk to the developer about. It just seemed to be the right mix.
Absolutely. It's really hard to decide, and that's why I always suggest that you don't schedule anything necessarily, because the time already goes by so fast. And you may want to do 10 to 12 things, but you may only be able to do 4 or 5 of them in a day. Right? We were talking earlier off air that maybe moving it the whole thing back a day may be a good idea, and having 2 full days where everybody could be there, um, 8 to 10 or something. Uh, it would allow more time, yes. But even if it were 3 days,
Yeah,
there are still going to be things that
yeah,
inevitably you don't get to play or you don't get to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
It just goes by so fast.
Yeah. I felt a little bummed out that I didn't get to sit down with Ian or Steve, but they both posted and said they had a fantastic time and they were very happy with how things went. So I don't feel so bad now, that I didn't get to sit with them. But it's just one of those things, so I wasn't pulled in 100 directions, which was nice, but I was like 5 or 6 directions, I mean, I'd
Yeah.
sit down and play, but then I'd have to go and do something there. And I was concerned, Michael, early on, I was got everything set up and we were going and I like, where's Michael? And like, you're over there and you're setting up. And I was like, man, it's like, let me give him a hand. It's like, did you even get to have any fun or were you just working the whole time,
I was hard at work.
Yeah, I was hard at work, but I did get to play. James Hart and I were able to play in our Baseball America Co-op League. He was in first place by a game and a half, and we played our 2-game series. And I beat him 11-2 and 5-1. So now I moved into first. I played James the next day in the season ticket baseball tournament and beat him again. I think 3-1 in that game. I had the 2001 Red Sox. I forgot who he had, but so unfortunately, James is a great guy.
Mm.
He went 0-3 against me for the weekend. Uh,
Ah,
I thought the tournaments. I mean, we had some informal tournament season. Joe
yeah.
Costa
Yeah.
set up the season ticket baseball. I went 2-1 in that. Lost to the eventual champions, the '78. No, I take that back. The 2018 Pirates. Part of the tournament was you couldn't have a team that had a winning percentage above 51%. So you were taking, below or above or just slightly below 500 teams. Uh, I had the 2001 Red Sox, and what a first game I had. It was the 2001 Red Sox, and I don't remember who I was playing at the time. Oh, the Mets, with Al Leiter for the Mets going against Pedro Martinez. As expected, 0-0 to the sixth inning. I had Pedro. He was cruising. He had like 10 strikeouts, and got to the bottom of the sixth, a base hit, a walk, and of all people for the Mets to hit a home run off of Pedro Martinez, Desi Relaford, who hasn't been relevant since whatever year he played.
Right, right.
So now the game goes 3-0 to the top of the ninth. I was the visiting team. He still got Al Leiter in there, couple base hits, strikeout, and then a walk to load the bases. And he brings in John Franco, and I'm like, meh, not going to win this game. Sure enough, Brian Dahlbeck goes off the stadium card in season ticket baseball and hits a grand slam in the top of the ninth inning. And there it was. I won the game 4-3. One of those games, if you were playing at home, would have been exciting, but playing the game head to head was so much fun. So I did get a lot of gaming. I did miss a lot of things. Again, like you, Dave, never got over to Ian uh, to see that. I was in the finals against George from Toronto in the high leverage baseball, but unfortunately Steve had to leave in the morning. We were going to play that game Sunday morning, so we did not get a chance to do that. I will bring high leverage baseball to Canton, Ohio, and maybe George and I can finish up that championship game.
It was great to have George come down. It really
It was
was.
great. Yeah, we
I
met him last year in
Yeah,
Canton.
he was great.
Yeah,
I love George, and he came
yeah.
down and supported us and hung out. And it probably wasn't a good ride home from him with those Maple Leafs, but
Oh,
you know,
that
you
was
know.
awful.
Well, I'll get to Sunday night when we get to Sunday. But yeah, Ryan showed me the Appa sock, and we were supposed to play 4th Street, and I felt terrible about it because I got pulled away and I was doing something else, and by the time I was ready to go check out the 4th Street hockey, he had to leave, and I was really bummed out. I was like, oh man, I wanted to see that, and but there's a few guys that had to leave on Sunday, so that's why we're thinking about maybe extending it to Friday, Saturday instead of Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, it's all stuff that we're kicking around. Again, this is our first attempt at this, and we're learning. Did I like Appa soccer? I got an idea how it plays, but not being a soccer guy, it's probably something I'm not going to play. I love all the Appa games. I like how Appa plays with the charts and stuff. There was just something about how that played, maybe because I don't know the game enough to appreciate how soccer works. It kind of didn't do it for me, so to speak. I'm not giving up on it per se. I mean, maybe another time I'll sit down and play it again with somebody, and maybe it'll grow on me. But yeah, that didn't do much for me there. It really didn't. That's why I wanted to see the soccer blast, because sometimes if I don't know a game very well, like the sport very well, a lighter game like that might work.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's very much like Hockey Blast. So, I mean, it's that blast engine. And I find that me not knowing enough about hockey, I can play Hockey Blast as a full play game and understand the entire game. So I think you'd find that about soccer as well.
yeah, again, I don't know much about basketball, but the highlight maker hoops looked interesting. It really did. But for some reason, the bank shot basketball just worked for me. It just did, and it's like I don't really need to know much about basketball to follow this game. It really helped me show who was defending who. It told me like what to look for in the whole bit. just you roll. I like rolling dice to see if the shot goes in. And I remember we were at the free throw line, and I would roll the dice or whatever it was, and it's like, oh, now you got to roll like a decider. No, it's bouncing around the rim, and then roll to see if it drops in or not. So even shooting the free throws was kind of fun. But I just kind of liked how the bank shot flows, and so that's the one I went with. I'm going to try that. And again, Joe Bryan does fantastic games. He really does.
He
You know,
does.
so
Absolutely.
no, so that's kind of cool there. The other game I did play, I sat down with Dave Little and I played the Filsinger Wrestling, which was kind of neat. Kind of neat. I was looking at that today. I might pick up that game in a couple of wrestlers or something like that. I mean, they're not fun to stream because it's mostly just he hits him with an elbow and hits him with a leg drop, so it's kind of hard to show that off, so to speak. It's something that I might find its way on the channel here. And I had some fun playing with Dave. He just kind of showed me the basic mode of that, and I enjoyed that very much. The big thing for me, though, and this kind of hit me on Saturday when I just saw so many people that didn't know each other before this weekend, and they're all sitting there gaming. Or they're all going out to lunch. Or you go out in the lobby and they're hanging out, or they're at the restaurant getting something to eat. And it's just all these people hanging out and they're taking pictures with each other, and they're smiling at their games. And that was the thing, is all these strangers coming together, leaving as friends, and just having a time. And I got emotional Saturday. I did. I got emotional seeing when it was in full swing. I was like, wow, we did it. We did it. We pulled off the show. Vendors are busy. People are playing games, are having fun. There really wasn't any issues that I could see, aside from one of my technical difficulties on the stream, which I don't know if it was me or the internet. But that aside, it was just, and I even got some gaming in, and it just everywhere you went, people were just having a good time. And you go, and I would stop and talk to people and how you doing and what you're playing here, and I talked to so many people, and I could finally put the faces to the names, as you say. And everyone was just so good. I mean, everybody that went to the event was top notch. These people that showed up were just fantastic. And there were some people that come up and gave me some games and gave me some seasons. I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I want you to have this because I want you to play it on your channel. I just want you to play it and enjoy it. And it was it was just kind of blown away with that people said, geez, I want to give you this, and that it just everything was really good. It was just such a positive vibe. And Saturday night, when it all ended Saturday night after we did everything and closed up and went to bed, and we were chatting in the lobby till midnight or so. I couldn't sleep, and I was exhausted, and I couldn't sleep. I mean, I just was like, just blown away at the people at this event. How just awesome they were,
Yeah,
and
I
that's the only
think.
way to describe it.
Yeah, I think ST, you'll agree with this. Saturday night at PlayCon is probably the toughest night. Probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, when people are starting to break up. They're going home in the
Mhm.
morning. You're not going to see these
Yeah,
people. Saturday night is an emotional night because you're not going to see a lot
it
of these
is.
people for a year.
It is. And it's not. I'm glad we have these events because it's no longer a year, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we see each other now, what, 5
3 times.
or 6 times a
Yeah,
year?
yeah.
I mean, and we're across the country from one another, and but yeah, I think there is a Saturday night is a late night in Colorado, but Friday night's a late night in Colorado, and Thursday night's a late night in Colorado. I mean,
Mhm.
it's it is something where if you get to go to one of these, and you should, it is a real special time, and it's not something that I think that you can just go to once. Uh, you tend to go one time and say, "Oh, I've got to go back," and you have the opportunity because now you have your conference in the Northeast, and you have IndyCon and Milwaukee events in the Midwest, and you have Play.con in Colorado. You have the Alpha conference, Alpha. You have the APA conference in Georgia. So you really do have these around the country, and that isn't even counting, the strat groups that are all over the country, the APA groups that are all over the country. I mean, there are so many of these things happen in Canton in August as well. How can I
Yep.
forget that? I mean, I'm excited about that. And you have all of these things happening now in almost every region of the country. I think we're almost at a point where if you want to go, you'll go, and it's just a matter of deciding I am going. And uh, I would encourage you to do so. Like I said, if you go to one of these, you will have to go twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Already, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward. I'm going out to play in Colorado next month, and I guess the plan. And hopefully, me and Michael are going back to Canton in August. I think that's the plan anyway. I'm
Yeah.
I'm planning on
Absolutely.
going. You know,
Yeah.
so and I know a couple of people have already mentioned they're going to Canton. So, and I suppose mostly football in Canton. I mean, you can play whatever you want, but obviously. But I'm going to bring some football games out there, and that's just a fun time. Yeah, and I posted the link. It's a Facebook link, unfortunately, but I mean, in the description of this video, you can click on the Facebook link, or you can email Jeff. That is apbafootballcluboriginal at gmail.com to get information on that event. But yeah, we're going to be heading out there in August, and that's the first one I went to. And again, I couldn't wait to go to another one. So much so that I decided to start, my own out here on the Northeast. And the way it's looking, yeah, we're gonna keep going with this. All right, so Saturday, let's kind of wrap the chronological things, and then we'll talk a bit more about some things. So Saturday comes, and poor was it John Turnbull over there? He unveiled his new hockey game, and he was dying to show it to me, and I never got there. Saturday, I didn't get there. I didn't get there at all. And so I said, Sunday for sure. Sunday for sure. So Sunday, I waddled in a little later on Sunday. I slept in a little bit and took my time. And Sunday was a lot slower day there. So I got to do more. But I did finally sit in and check out his hockey game. And this basketball game, was it baseline basketball? I really liked that one there. That was kind of fun. Sometimes I like basketball games in that vein right there. It kind of felt like a little like a player of the game basketball, sort of. So I really liked this basketball game. So I finally got in to sit in on some of those games as well as he was kind of packing up on Sunday. But Sunday kind of scaled down a little bit. I noticed there was a lot more talking than playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
There was a couple tables that were just, 6 or 8 guys just sitting around talking and just kind of just relaxing and having a good time. And then on Sunday, Dave Cook from Action PC Sports showed up, and that was kind of fun. And he didn't breeze in and breeze out. He was there for a few hours. He talked to us about everybody. I got an interview with him, and it was nice to see him talking to people that play his game. And again, that's what you can do at these conventions. You're not going to meet them in your house. You got to get out to these things, and you never know who you're going to bump into. You really, really don't. So that was kind of my Sunday. I was kind of strolling in late, trying to get some interviews with people. We got Ron on. We talked to Ron for a little bit. I talked to Dave Cook. I saw a few more games, and that's when I jumped in on the Bank Shop basketball. That was the last game I saw. I still was bummed out that I didn't get to play some of the games. Like I said, 4th Street Hockey. Ryan was going to show me 4th Street Hockey. We didn't get to that. I didn't get to the Soccer Blast, but I didn't get to sit with Jeff either from the APA football group there. I wanted. He had some old hockey games, and he had the basketball game, and I wanted to kind of take a look at some of those, and I just never got a chance to sit with him and go over any of that stuff too. So many things I wish I could have done. That's the biggest regret is how many things that you didn't get to do. But I met a ton of people. I can now put faces to names, and a lot of these people are in the chat room here. Some of them are on Facebook, and so for me. I don't know how it could have gone any better.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
So on Sunday, what were you guys kind of doing on Sundays as we kind of just wrap up the timeline here?
I pretty much was. I don't think I played anything on Sunday. I sat with George from Canada and a bunch of other people, and we just basically talked sports, family life, things like that. that's the interesting part is it's just not only sports. People do open up and talk about their families and things like that, and it's fun to get to know the people even on a personal level.
Mm.
Um, you see, and I was so happy to see George. We met George in Canton last year, and what a great time. We went out to dinner with him a couple times,
Yeah.
and when he was there, when he walked in, and I didn't realize I hadn't seen or recognized his name on the list.
Yeah,
And
I
when he
didn't
walked,
either. I didn't either.
yeah. So when he walked in, it was like, oh wow, cool, this is gonna be good, and it
Mhm.
was. It was. He's a really great guy.
So
Well, I packed up and I wanted to stay longer. That I probably stayed 3 or 4 hours longer than I was
yeah,
actually going.
because you were like, oh, I can't show you the basketball game. I got to leave. And so I sat down and played it with James. And then I looked up, and about an hour or so later, you're still here. I was like, oh, yeah, so
So
I see how it is.
I,
Yeah.
so I sat down with Joe Costa for a while and just had a good time with him talking about games. And he and Clay Dreslock, who I love talking to, and everyone else who was there that day. And I kept saying to myself, well, as long as I get 8 hours down the road, and then I said, okay, so as long as I leave by 4, I'll be asleep at like 12. Okay, that's fine, fine, right? And I kept extending that back, and man, it's hard to leave these things. No joke
Yeah.
about that. And but it went well. I finally had to go and make my way down the road. About 14-hour drive, I'm gonna say. 13, 14 hours. And of course maps took me there a whole other way from how it brought me back. I don't know why, but uh, it did. And you kind of reflect on that drive home about the weekend that you had just had and about things that you want to do. And you reflect a lot about game mechanics because I'm insane. And you just kind of do that, especially when you've talked game mechanics and game ideas all weekend and you now have that time in the car. But I go to a few of these now, and every time I leave and I think this could not have gone any better.
What was fun is sitting down and playing some of the games that I brought with Clay, especially that bomb game, right?
Mhm.
So he went through the rules and found out we were playing it wrong. And I didn't pick up on that. I hadn't played it in a long time. I just confused the bomb and that's it. So he figured out we were playing it wrong. So we tried to play it right. But by the third or fourth game, you could see like the wheels spinning as the game developer was like unraveling this game in his mind, and it's just like,
Right.
it was almost like by the third game he had figured it out.
Mhm.
And so he was like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, and then we'll do this next. And he had figured it out. So it was
Yeah.
really kind of fun sitting with somebody who designs games, who was thinking like a game designer, who kind of was trying to
Absolutely.
figure out how this game was designed and how it's supposed to work. And it was kind of neat because we're all looking around. I was like, whoa, he's like figuring this out. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So,
and he did that with the Bandito game too. You could
oh
see
yeah.
him, the wheels spinning in his head. Well, this, that, and it was interesting to see that how his mind works.
I think we'll see a season ticket Bandito,
Bandito, who
a
knows?
season
We
ticket
might.
bomb defusal. That was a good time there. So for me on Sunday night, we there was still a few of us there. We still were playing games out in the lobby and in the restaurant
Mhm.
till I don't know about 8 o'clock or so. We had a nice dinner, and then that's when we started to break it down. I kind of hit another wall. It's like, okay, I've been going all day, all weekend here. I think I'm gonna go crash, and then I'll head back in the morning. And I get back to my hotel room, and it was just like a bomb went off. Like there was just stuff everywhere. Because I just, you go in, I'm just like ripping through stuff, trying to find stuff in the whole bit. And I still had stuff I was supposed to bring up for the table, and I didn't bring it out. So I said, you know something? I says, I need to start packing up because if I get up in the morning, I'm going to be all day packing the stuff up. So I put on the hockey game. And it's like, okay, I'll watch the hockey game while I pack up. Well, that was a disaster, Game 7 with the Leafs and the whoever they were playing, Florida. And so, well, Mike, I mentioned the Florida Panthers, and Mike goes into a fit. That's all right, Mike. The
Uh,
Florida Panthers.
I can't stand them. I
Habluka.
can't stand the Panthers.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a big fan of it either. I like Marshawn, but because he was a Bruin. But
Yeah.
so I start putting stuff away in the suitcases, and I'm packing up and go. Well, I'm not going to get everything in here because I'm taking home, more games than I went with. And and next thing you know, I had everything like all packed up, and it was 9:30, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to drive home. I said I got a second wind, so I decided to drive home. So it took 6 trips from my room to the truck to pack up. No joke, 6
Wow.
trips. And it was just stuffed. And I was like, where did all this stuff come from? And so then I was listening to the game on the way home, and it was the Toronto station on NHL Network. So I was able to listen to the Maple Leafs announcers broadcast the funeral for the Maple Leafs. And I got home a little after midnight. Of course, it was raining when I got home, so I couldn't unpack the truck. So I just grabbed a couple of important things and brought it in. And the wife gets up, and I sat down. And I probably talked to her for an hour. I sat her down and says, "You ain't gonna believe this weekend." And I just says, "I'm not sleeping tonight at all." I says, I'm just too wound up, and I was trying to explain everything that happened and all the people I met and the games I played and how it was just this was the first conference for the podcast, and it went off with flying colors. And so then I get home and I'm putting some stuff away, and I'm just sitting there and I'm reading like Facebook, and I'm reading the messages and the emails I got from everybody that went, and I was blown away. I was blown away by all the people with all the things they had to say. I mean, they didn't have to write those things. They could have just gone and went home, but to a man, everybody's like, "All right, count me in for next year."
Yeah.
And
It was amazing.
I was pretty blown away. So, Michael, any final thoughts from you on this?
Not really. Like I said, really just excited to see all those people having a good time. And it was kind of neat, and not to, brag, but you and I put this together, and all these people were enjoying it. I think that was a big thrill for me that we pulled it off, but the best part was everybody was having a good time. And I think that's the biggest take I'll get out of that is,
Mhm.
you know, where else can you throw a group of 50 people in a room for a weekend and everybody comes out smiling and happy? Nobody's got a black eye or a bloody nose. It's great. Everybody goes in as meets new friends, and they come out with friends that you'll probably have for life now. And
Mm,
you will see on the road at some of these other events.
yep. ST.
Absolutely. Same exact thing. Just being able to meet so many people. And the interesting thing about this one, especially, and we talked about this before the conference even happened, was there seemed to be a lot of people who were there for the first time at any of these conferences. And I think they were amazed at what it actually was and how it actually works. And seeing that amazement and that happiness and that joy and that eagerness about next year was really a highlight for me as well.
Yeah. It was just great. Just again, I just kept looking up. I was sitting in the back of the room. I kept looking up and just watching everybody play, and I see dice being thrown around and cards coming out, and people pulling games out and people buying games, and just doing their thing. And it was nice to see a bunch of people go out, and they did some dinner, a couple times, as a group, and it was nice to see people just kind of getting together. Hey, let's go out and let's go. Get something to eat and hang out, and again, that was half the fun in Canton. Is just kind of a bunch of us going out, and some people I never knew. I didn't know in Canton, and by the time the dinner was done, we were good friends, and we just enjoyed it so much. We really did. So, and also, the raffle was Michael did a fantastic job setting that up. The raffle was a good time.
It was fun.
I can't believe that James Cass won like everything.
He rigged the raffle, right?
That's what I'm
it's
thinking.
obvious at this point.
That's
He
what I'm
rigged the
thinking.
raffle.
That
You
was
know,
I don't know
incredible.
how he got extra tickets.
Here's
I don't know how
here's
he paid off. But
here's what I
rigged the
think he
raffle.
did. Here's what I think that James Cass did. Right. I saw him going to a lot of the people who had raffle tickets, and he's like, "Do you want me to drop those off in the box for you? I'll be happy to go do it." And he's just writing James Cast in the back of all their tickets and dropped them. That's the only way he could have won. What did he win? 4, 5, 6, 7 times? I'm kidding, of course.
No,
But I think he won
honestly,
3.
I think honestly he won 3 times.
I think he did. Yeah.
That's mathematically amazing.
Yeah, well, Mr. Blank actually won 4 times. So if Mr. Blank had been,
Yeah, I know. Mr. Blank was one. Yeah. Blank won more than James.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, a lot of first time people here that just had a good time. So we can wrap that up here. Trying to think if I have any final thoughts. No, just still riding the high. Still riding the high of just how it went, and a lot of planning went into this. Michael and I spent countless hours on the phone and emails and texts and chats, and we went back and forth with UST on the emails, and Keith, running some ideas behind, by you guys, and see what you thought about this, what you thought about that, what were some good things, some bad things that we should do and avoid. And and I pretty much had an idea how I wanted to set up the room, and had the day go, just to get everybody off and running. But again, one of my concerns was just, what if people aren't having fun if there's not enough games? And holy cow, there was plenty of games. There was not a shortage of games. If you didn't show up with any games, you still were playing 10 or 12 different games.
Right.
That's how that went. So, things went fantastic. I want to thank everybody who came to the event and or was a vendor or helped out. Again, Ray with those lanyards and the signs was just so great, and the big sign in the front just made everything look so professional. Mike in the truck setting up the Pro Strategy Football on the big screen. Everybody could go by and check that out, see some of the new things going on with that game. And the buy and sell table went pretty well, I think. I think people got to pick up some things there if they wanted to too. So I enjoyed that part of it. I know I sold a couple things and got a couple things myself. Nothing big, but just had some things. Hey, if somebody want to take these, go ahead and take them. So it was good. It was fun with that. And again, in the chat, Matt says I've rolled more games in the last 3 days since I got home than I did in the last 6 months. Being there reminded me how much I love gaming. It was much needed. Yeah, I'm excited to play too. I just finally got Studio B all set up here. I haven't had a chance to play. I just been kind of putting stuff away, catching up on my sleep. I had to work last night. And just, again, the excitement is still very high. I'm still kind of riding the high right now, and I can't wait to play something myself. And I do have the weekend off for the holiday, so I'll be able to do some of that this weekend. But all in all, yes, DigitalDice.con, Digital Dice Con. Yeah, Digital Dice Con. That was the other thing, trying to come up with a name for the event. Remember that, Michael?
Yeah.
We were trying to come up with a name for the event, and do we want to call it East Coast Gamers, or we couldn't figure out what to call it. And I don't know if it was Keith that pitched. He goes, just Digital to Dice Con. Just I think he might have pitched that. And I was like, well, do we want to just name it after the podcast, or do we want to have it more generic? And I think it kind of worked out, just naming it after the podcast and kind of keeping everything uniform. Yeah. So. But anyway, again, just met so many great people. I can put names to faces now, so I see people in the chat room now, and I can, picture what they look like with their name now. And I feel like I know these people, and it's great seeing them here in the chat. And hopefully I'll see them, on Facebook and listening to the podcast and commenting here on YouTube. And so that is it. And again, everybody that posted after the fact and posted pictures, I did create a little video montage. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I grabbed all the pictures and made it was a 5, 6, 7, 8 minute video with some music on it. Just put it up on YouTube, kind of like a little recap of the weekend, and everybody could check out some of the pictures that were posted there. But a lot of people went out of the way, vendors too, saying what a great time they had, and met a lot of great people and just the fun they had. And that made it worthwhile, too. I'm still reading some of the comments because they're still coming up, and it's just the emails that, are just fantastic. And it just, I don't know what to say. Again, I said it all on Facebook. I was blown away by how it turned out. A lot of planning went into this, and to see it kind of just come to fruition and work out pretty well, and just to see the Christmas morning. It's
Yeah.
Christmas morning. It really was. Saturday was Christmas morning, and everybody coming in with games and new games and playing stuff, and just everyone was just in their element. It really was. So,
Absolutely.
and that Mark comes by and says the whole thing, and I love the geekiness of what we do. Was expressed by that TV in the corner with a retro arcade game. Yep, it actually was. And Vinny says the con literally brought many together for the rest of our lives, and you can't put that in words. Yeah, so many people met each other from all over. Daddy Kingsley goes, he had to stream on the TV and rolled some map of baseball with his daughter. Thanks for the stream. He was here in spirit. Yes, that's why I wanted to have that go and just kind of show the room. You can see people milling around and playing and doing their thing, and just give you an idea what people might be missing if they weren't at the event. And so that's why I wanted to keep that camera rolling as long as I could. So that's a wrap, gentlemen. Digital to Dice Con 25 is in the books. And now we start looking towards Digital to Dice Con 26.
Correct.
And now we start looking at, one thing we have to look at is if we get a ridiculously large response, that place is not gonna hold much more.
No.
So,
excuse me.
I think it could hold quite a few more people. I think if we had someone in every seat at every table, everybody's spread out pretty well. That's a pretty good sized room. But yeah, if the response is what we think it'll be, then it's going to be a good size event. But that's exciting, though. That's exciting. It's not a challenge. That it's right now at this point, a year ahead. It's just exciting.
Yeah. I jokingly put a picture of the Foxwoods Grand Ballroom up on Facebook. It says, what do you think of this room? And it was just this monster room with like 85 tables lined up. It looked like something out of Star Wars. You know? And I was kidding, of course, but it just struck me at the time that, well, what if we do without this, But we are actively looking for a bigger room. We just, to be on the safe side, we're not rushing it, but we're kind of poking around to see what's going to be out there that's bigger. Again, bigger means more money in the whole bit. So, but it's, that venue worked pretty well. The responses we got for that venue were pretty well. Again, there's no ideal place to put it. Let's just say that. There's no ideal place to put it. It's got to go somewhere. And so that seemed to check as a lot of boxes for us, was that place right there. And so, but we are going to look for places that might have a bigger room just in case, or maybe next year we cap it at, maybe 70 or 75 people, and we just, and then maybe in year 3 we look for a bigger place. But so that's the thing there. If anybody in that area again is, would like to help look for places, that's fine. We're probably going to keep it pretty close to where we were, because it's got to be close for me. And it's got to be close for Mike, because we're doing all the legwork and bringing stuff there, so it can't be someplace we have to fly to. But if there's some place closer to Mohegan Sun maybe, or closer to Hartford, that works again. And people come down. They went to Mystic too. That was the other thing, is that there are some people who are on a vacation that want to come down and do some visiting. So with or sightseeing. So with Mystic right there, and the submarine base down there, and the Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, there was things to do besides the convention, and that's what you got to keep in mind too. So if we just had it at some place and there was nothing else around, then that doesn't check a lot of boxes either. So speaking of the devil, Ian stops by. Hi Ian, good to see you. Yeah, it was a fun time seeing Ian. So many people playing on deck baseball. It really was. It was a fun time seeing that. And Andrew says, thinking that room we had could do 70, 75. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because we had 50. And there was still a couple of tables that were open, but you don't want to be bumping into people the whole time, And Mark says, better to give people more room to roam and sit where they want instead of feeling like you're playing musical chairs. Yeah, no, I get that. Yep, I get that. Ian comes by. Yep, such a great weekend. I was actually, I didn't hear from Steve Shaw with the High Leverage Baseball. I was kind of, because he left early, he didn't stay Sunday, so I was kind of wondering, upset, or if things weren't going well for him at his High Leverage table. But he did post that he thought things went well. Unfortunately, he had to leave, and he had a lot of new players and people buying his game and playing his game. So it looks like things went well with Steve too. So glad to see that.
Interesting story with Steve. his wife booked his hotel, and apparently, I know where it is in Groton. It was called the Flagstaff Inn, and on Friday night he mentioned, you know, the undesirables that was out in front of the hotel, and it was
Oh,
pretty shaky. He was a little nervous. I think he eventually, for Saturday, he did change the
Yeah.
hotel. I sent him the link this afternoon. On Monday, well, it was actually Tuesday morning at about 1 o'clock in the morning. They had a 3 alarm fire at that
oh,
hotel,
oh,
and quite a bit of the hotel was destroyed. So he
Oh,
did
wow.
get out. He did get out in time.
no
But
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it
Wow.
apparently started in the office area and then spread throughout the rest of the hotel. So
Holy cow, I did not
yeah,
hear that.
displaced I think 30 people. It's kind of a hotel where people who are down on their luck
Oh,
or whatever, that's where they go. Or if they've had a fire in their home, that's where they get displaced. Red Cross will put them in there. Well, I sent him
oh.
a link to the video about that, and he wrote back. He goes, "Wow, it doesn't surprise me," or something like that. It was like, yeah, it was one of those crazy stories, but
Yeah.
it'll be something he can talk about down the road.
That's why I try to, I know it's more expensive, but, I try to, you know, I don't mind spending a little bit extra money to stay at a better place.
I mean, I was in the town that he was in,
Yeah,
and
down the
also
road,
at
just
a smaller hotel. And I thought it went fine at the Gold Star Inn. I
yeah,
thought it went fine. Is it as nice as the Hilton? No, but for the price I paid for it, I mean, I needed somewhere to sleep that was clean. I spent all of my other time at the event space,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
it was fine for that. I thought it was good, so I'm glad I picked the right small
You did,
hotel
Yeah.
you
in
did,
Yeah.
Groton.
you did.
Yeah. I like staying at the place because they gave me that room right off the lobby. I could again. It took me a minute to walk from my table to my
Right.
room, and then a minute back to bring a game or to go find something or whatever else I needed to do. So it was right there. I know that I stayed at a hotel one time at another event, and it was if I'm in the lobby, I'm walking the length of the hotel, going upstairs, walking the length of the hotel back to my room, and it was 10 minutes. By the time I got to my room and back, it was 10 minutes. I was like, holy cow! This place it was 10 seconds. So again, it's a smaller hotel, but everything was right there. So I think it did well. Plenty of parking. I thought,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't get a chance to go in the pool or the hot tub either. I didn't want to leave the floor. That was the thing. I didn't want to leave the floor to go off into the hot tub or the pool because that wanted to be out there with the gamers and talking to people. You know what I mean? And I always make it a point to jump in the pool when I go there, but I just never made it. And they close it at 10, so at midnight I couldn't go in. So anyway, all right. Well, that'll wrap it up. This is officially episode 263 of the Digital to Dice podcast. And in this episode here, I was with Mike Canestrari. And I'm tired, Mike. I can't say your name when I'm tired.
Canistrary.
Canestrari, I'm tired.
There you
And,
go.
and ST Patrick, as we wrapped up Digital to Dice Con to 25. Ways to get a hold of us. DigitalToDice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email. Over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. Join the discussion over there. And I do want to say that it was I put out today that I needed some help with the fouls in basketball. And Vinny sent me a sheet with all the rules on fouls and how they work and the whole bit. So when I get the basketball game in, now I know how to work that stuff there and who takes the shot and who does it and the whole bit. So looking forward to it. And yeah, can't wait for next year. And we need to start looking at new venues, and I'll have to start updating that website. Again, once we find a place to go and we find a date. So stay tuned for that. But again, I want to thank you guys for coming on here, ST and Mike. Thanks for coming on. And again, thanks for all your help with everything to pull this off. So,
Absolutely.
all right, that is that. And one last note from Raymond here in the chat room. Good night, fellow gamers. See you at the next video. And again, Raymond, thank you for all
Way to
your
go,
help
Ray.
with everything you did. It was fantastic. He even brought some tasty cakes, from
Oh, I didn't know
Philadelphia.
that.
Oh, yeah. He brought some tasty cake. I snuck one away.
What,
And
a
I
case?
Oh, I wish. That would have been great. So anyway,
All
so
right.
thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later.